Hi, I'm Chris Haigh and this is the Fiddle channel, and today I'm going to show you how to play Tennessee Whiskey. Now this is a beautiful song and a very interesting one. I'm going to give you various sections and various approaches to soloing, to backing and to playing the melody. Before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about where this song comes from, because it's an interesting story. It was made famous by George Jones in 1983, and if you listen to his version, then it sounds very little like the Chris Stapleton version, which is the one that I know and love. The George Jones, at the risk of offending all of his fans and notwithstanding himself as well, then it's a bland, middle-of-the-road country song. Whereas Chris Stapleton has done this magic trick of turning into this amazing thing. However, it's a special kind of magic trick because on a tip from Wikipedia, I looked at Etta James's song I'd Rather Go Blind, recorded in 1968, and lo and behold, I'll say nothing apart from it must have been a champagne crate opening day for the lawyers when they heard that song. Anyway, I'm not going to judge. We're going to play something appropriate for the Chris Stapleton version of this song. The main challenge, well, two main challenges with this: it is really slow. So you have to relax and get into the zone and don't be impatient with this. And it's in 12/8, and certainly if you're reading the part that I'm going to give you, it's quite tricky to read, so you just have to be patient. The best thing really is not to read it and not to think about it, but just to trust the band that you're playing with, or the guitarist that you're playing with, to fill out and not feel you have to fill all the space. Anyway, it starts off with a great baritone guitar intro, and I'm just going to show you that. So I normally play it slow and then speed it up a bit, but I will play a bit faster and slow it down. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, E. So that's kind of the intro, and you can count it either as 1, 2, 3, 4, or as 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, or if you're really pedantic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's the feel of it. Let's just hear that intro with the backing. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, when you play the C sharps, and all of that in fact can be played with an E drone if you want to give it a bit of a country feel. Yeah, in fact an E drone all the way through that line if you want. Okay, next I'm going to give you the vocal line for the verse. So that is more or less what the voice is doing on the verse and on the chorus. And you may think that's not actually very helpful, because you don't want to be playing that at the same time as the singing. But you could do that as your solo, and that would work perfectly well. I'm going to show you a much more interesting approach to soloing, but that would work fine. And it will also, if you happen to do this whole thing as an instrumental, that'd be very useful to know. And it's good for getting you used to the feel of the tune. Now next I'm going to give you a rhythmic thing that you can do behind the verse. And this involves some double stops. So for the A chord, we're going to start off with the A with an E above it. And the rhythm is 1, 2, 3, bum, bum. And then to the B minor, where we got a B with a D above it. And then here. Now this is a nice line that comes from the guitar line. So we got a after that note we've got C sharp with an E above it, and then open A, open D. That's a nice line. So I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that with the backing. Now, the second time round I did a chop on the second note. If you've not done chopping before, then consider carefully before you start trying to learn it. But in the case of this song, you have that great big snare sound in that particular place, and if you don't happen to have a great big snare with a drummer in the band, then it's going to be really nice to hear that, and it's incredibly satisfying playing it. And if you are interested in learning to chop, then I have a video on the basics of chopping, and also another video warning you about the dangers of chopping. And if you look carefully on my fiddle, then here you will see one of the dangers is that when you miss, you tend to wear the varnish off that particular corner. Anyway, then we've got a chorus, and I've given you a different backing line here. Repeat. Okay, so let me give you the verse backing and the chorus backing. Chop. Another chorus. Okay, now if you want to do a solo, then I'm going to give you several approaches to that. The first line I'm going to give you is more or less how the guitar solo starts, and because it's nice, simple, memorable lines, it's worth copying those. The second line I've given some more appropriate fiddle lines, because it doesn't always make any sense to copy guitar lines, or indeed sax lines or lines from other instruments. Sometimes it's better to choose lines that are more appropriate to the instrument. So anyway, we've got, and in fact I'll play this with a backing because it's quite difficult to follow the timing because it's so slow. So if you don't want to make up your own solo, then that's, I think, quite a nice one. The timing on the second line just needs a bit of work, but it's not difficult. And the chords, incidentally, surprisingly for such a great song, it has only 2 chords. This song was written during the great chord shortage of 1981. So you've just got an A and a B minor. Now when it comes to soloing over this, because it's so slow, it's easy to get mesmerised and not really know what to do. One thing to think about is the length of your notes, that you want to vary them. So you can do a really, really long note, but if you do so, then you want to do something with the note, changing the vibrato, changing the intensity, maybe doing some false harmonics, just to give it some variety through that long note. Or you could do bends. So that's the longest note, that's a full bar. Then you've got 4 threes. Then you can split those into, and then you can split those in half. Something like that, or you can mix the different time lengths up. And so you've got to have those as the different colours in your palette, and you mix and match between them. So you definitely don't want to just stick with one length of note. Let's just hear those different lengths going together. At the end there was a completely free, what we might call rubato, playing without any time at all, and that is in fact the most satisfying but also demanding way of playing. So you kind of you lose the bar lines completely, and the main difficulty is you've got to keep the sound of those beats going in your head, so that when you get to the end, you get to the end in the right place. Anyway, so that's the approaches to timing. Now, when it comes to thinking about the chords, which you don't really have to, but if you want to, then scales and arpeggios of those chords will be useful. So for the A, that makes it very clear what the chord is. So you're very distinctly playing A's and B minors through that. And it makes it easier for you to know where you are when you're doing something like that. An alternative is to play the pentatonics. So that was all on the A major pentatonic, and because B minor is a diatonic chord from A major, then all of those notes are going to fit over the B minor. But if you just stress the B notes rather than the A notes, then that will fit in really well. I'm just going to play you the scales and arpeggios, and then the pentatonic. Now the pentatonic. I think the pentatonic actually works much better than the simple scales and arpeggios. It sounds much more musical and in keeping with the style of the song. If you're not sure about what pentatonic scales are, I've done quite a few different videos. I think the most appropriate one is the pentatonic scale for improvisers, which I did just recently, so check that one out if you're not sure what pentatonic scale is and what to do with it. And finally, an approach is the major blues scale. I think definitely not the minor blues scale in this case. So the major blues scale of A is, and then if we start on a B but do the same scale, that will also fit fine over the B minor. And then coming down, notice as I came down, I didn't do the C sharp. And don't think that because it's a scale you have to use all the notes of the scale, and quite often you will play just the blue note or just avoid the blue note. It works perfectly well as well. So I'll just give you that as I've just played it, and then I'll play a little bit of improvisation on the major blues scale. And I think you'll agree that that sounds quite a lot better than the pentatonic and much better than the scales and arpeggios. So that's it for this lesson. If you would like a copy of the sheet music that I've used here, then do subscribe and send me an email. If you're enjoying my videos in general, then do please consider joining me on Patreon. This will help to keep me incentivized to keep churning out the videos. And it will also give you lots of benefits, including, for example, a zip file with all of my PDFs, and there's probably 300 of them by now. And depending on what level you are, access to my tune collections and to my backing tracks and to monthly lessons. So please do consider that. I'll play you out with a bit more improvisation, and I'll see you again soon.